Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the bonus level podcast. Today, I'm joined with Nox and Lunar Squadron, and we've got a lot planned for this episode. We're going to talk about some
All
Lego
right.
Star Wars, some Book of Boba Fett. But before we get into any of that, do you guys want to introduce yourself to the audience?
Go for it, Andreas.
Yeah, sure. I'm Andreas. This is Nick. We run the Lunar Squadron YouTube channel. If you guys haven't seen our channel before, we do all things Lego Star Wars, all things Star Wars. We're covering like everything from Book of Boba Fett to, the most in-depth trivial breakdowns of Lego Star Wars content that you could possibly think of. We try to cover every inch of the galaxy, so that's kind of what we do, and we sure do love doing it. So, unless you have anything else to add, Nick, that's all I got.
Did you just call us trivial?
You know,
it's
we make trivial like into beauty. It's like the nuances. It's the nuances of life that really do draw out the beauty in it, right?
That really hits me where I live, Andreas. That was beautiful.
Yeah. It's poetic. It's poetry.
It's
It
funny. That is easily the most professional 30 seconds of this whole podcast channel that we've had, and it wasn't even us.
Nope.
It's true.
Yeah, but you guys do make really great breakdowns and all of that sort of stuff. So if you haven't already, for some reason, not checked out these guys, their link will be in the description, so make sure you guys subscribe.
Yeah, absolutely.
But you guys mainly cover Lego Star Wars just like us, right? And, well, that gameplay overview, what did you guys think? You've been covering it quite a bit.
Boy,
Wow,
that was
a lot.
that was a situation that morning. We actually, so the night before, we were together for the first time in a while, and I had flown out to Andreas, and the night before we had gone to a sporting event. We went to a hockey game together, and that's when the leak for the Amazon Mexico picture came out that everyone was talking about, were the DLC character packs. And we were out, and we were like damn, like wish we were home to cover this. We're like, all right, when we get back, we'll just because I had been traveling all week, we're gonna put it together like a news update video of like everything that's happened that week. It was like that was the same time frame as when that Italian page on Twitter was talking about how there was 20 DLCs and all of that stuff, and then that whole Amazon Mexico thing. So we put that video together that night, and we ended up going to bed at like 4 a.m. once we had it put together. And we set it for schedule at like 9 a.m. Pacific, and so we went to bed, and that's when the gameplay overview trailer dropped at like 6 a.m. our time. It was like 9 o'clock Eastern, and so we woke up, or our comments were like, wait till these guys wake up, because we had this news update article video drop after the gameplay overview trailer had dropped because we didn't know. And what ended up happening was I was asleep, and Andreas came walking out and was just standing over me, like looking down at me. And I woke up looking up at him, and we didn't even have to say anything to each other. It was just like,
he knew.
You gotta be kidding me. Now.
Really?
Now.
Wow.
That is hilarious.
We could just, I think we had this feeling the night before. I think even at one point we made a joke where we were like, oh, imagine if a trailer came out tomorrow. That'd be really funny, because in the video that we had filmed, we said, oh, we think that this April 5th date looks reasonable, and I wouldn't be surprised. I literally said, you guys can go watch the video. I said I wouldn't be surprised if there is a full trailer edited in somebody's hard drive waiting to release right now. And then, of course, the next morning I wake up to all these comments of people saying, oh, have you guys not seen the trailer's out? Why are you guys saying you think the release date? We have the release date. And I wake up and I'm like, oh God, Nick, we got to do this right now. But to answer your question, it really did give us everything we wanted, right? We got the gameplay, we got the release date that we've all been wanting, sooner than later, honestly. This thing is happening. It's coming pretty soon. We're only 50 days away now, 51 days away.
Yeah.
So it's just this thing is happening, and we're enjoying every second of this gameplay overview trailer. Today we have our down to protocol. We have a protocol droid video out today where we break down everything about the protocol droid. So we're breaking everything down in this thing and just finding all the cool surprises.
Okay. Really, two things. I have a horror story about the gameplay overview as well. But
Okay.
I said I did a live stream where we broke down the overview live. And I said when we were looking at those character class things, I quote, I really want to do this, but I know Lunar Squadron's going to beat me to it and they're going to do it better, so I don't even want to try. And you guys,
remember
and
that,
that
yeah.
day, the day I did that, you guys started doing you guys are doing really good, by the way. It's absolutely nuts. So,
That's funny.
yeah,
Honestly, like, we looked at each other and we're like, character class breakdown videos, and he was like, character class breakdown videos. We're
And
like, all right.
It's
we're doing
funny,
all
no
of
one
them.
else is doing that. You
I
were the
know, you're
first.
really
You were the first ones
surprised.
on it, and you know you've got this full series of breakdowns that nobody else is doing. It's unique to your channel. It's yeah, you're doing really well
That
with it.
surprises us. We really thought, like, when we put the first one together, we're like, someone's gonna beat us to this. Like, one of those bigger channels, like As a True or
Yeah.
FGG, like, one of those guys is gonna
No,
beat us to
see,
this.
I think the reason why is because you guys are newer to the scene of Lego Star Wars. I think everybody else is more used to the same kind of videos we've made previously. So for the other game, so you can see now there's videos on like all of the confirmed characters and locations and all that kind of stuff because that's what we did before. But then you guys are coming in like fresh with clearly brand new ideas that nobody's thought of before.
Definitely
that-
that coveted character list video, huh? That's what everyone's chasing when
Yes.
this game comes out.
Yes.
Everyone's chasing that first every character in Lego Star Wars
Oh,
video
yeah,
because that's the
Yeah, David
the
or
money.
DL Elite Hub said the same thing.
Yeah.
It's not one that I'm gonna strive for because I know that practically everybody's gonna get there before me. But it'd be interesting to see who wins that race.
I mean, I think it's going to be
we'll just have to say
rugged.
Ruggeds. We'll just have to steal his
Rugged.
idea. We'll just have to
No,
go
I mean,
find the save files or whatever.
That's what I was
Yes.
gonna say.
Oh, you watched the previous episode.
Yeah, where he's like, guys,
Yeah.
it's in the save file,
Yeah,
and all of you
yeah,
are like,
yeah,
oh my
yeah,
god,
yeah,
what?
yeah. Yeah,
that-
so you can get save files of Lego games online. Yeah, it's ridiculous.
That's funny.
I was watching that live and I had this similar reaction. I wish I got that on camera. It was so funny. Yeah, I see he's just gonna have to check the website wherever he gets those, and whoever gets it there first. Yeah. Did he
Yeah,
ever say
definitely.
where he got those?
No, but I think it's
No, he wouldn't say
pretty. I mean, you Google it, and I think you'll be able to find it. But obviously, no one's going to be able to do that for the Skywalker Saga. What we might have to, because there's probably whoever kind of uploads on that site probably wants to do that very quickly as soon as the game comes out. So if you really want to make real characters of it, and I don't want to give anybody else any ideas, you could probably just kind of stalk that website until you can get 100% completion and then use all the characters. But I don't think we're going to do that, are we?
Or you get 3 different people to each play a trilogy.
Oh, unlike one save file.
You have one person like play a trilogy, they get all the characters for that trilogy. You have one person do the original trilogy, they get all those characters, and then you have one person do the sequel trilogy, and they compile all the characters for you.
What trilogy are you guys most looking forward to?
Prequel. We're prequel people, aren't
Oh,
we?
are
Andreas?
you? Okay.
Yeah, it's definitely prequels for me, and then I'm gonna love playing through the original trilogy too.
Yeah, me too, yeah.
No hate on the sequel trilogy. I'm very excited to play through it as well. It's just we each have our preferences.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
So you starting on the Phantom Menace?
Probably.
I might want to start with the original trilogy. I might do this I might do this in release order actually, just to
Right.
like save the like best for last kind of thing. Well,
I like that you
Sequels?
say I when this is something we're gonna have to be doing together.
So
Well,
one's voted prequels, one's voted originals.
I'll probably be collecting footage of the original trilogy while Nick is happily collecting footage for the prequel trilogy. Is
See,
how we're probably gonna do that.
That's one thing that I'm really excited about when the game comes out from your channel, is that you're gonna have a unique perspective of playing it in couch co-op, right?
Mm.
And
Yeah,
That's the plan.
that's
I-
definitely like I that's how I prefer to
Mhm.
play Lego games. Is
Me
like
too,
sitting
yeah.
sitting down with a friend and like just having a laugh like the whole time. Like
yeah.
it's just it's fun. Like sharing the experience rather than doing it on your own. But
Yeah, that's how I grew up playing Lego games. That's how I played up through. The first one I played was the video game, the first one that ever came out, and then any others that I played when I was younger, I played with my brother and friends, and that's easily the best way to play it. So that's why I'm looking forward to your dynamic, because it will be unique. There's not another Lego Star Wars YouTuber or YouTubers that are two people instead of one, so you've got a unique opportunity there.
Mm-hmm. That's why we were really hoping that there would be some sort of online component for co-op,
Yeah.
so that we can get, and it's I think we are able to play with each other because of like things like Parsec or like share play or whatever.
Right. Yeah.
But if we wanted to play with like, multiple people or have like, subs, it would allow for more sub interaction or cross YouTuber interaction. I think one thing that the YouTubing community for Lego Star Wars hasn't tapped into yet is that we can have each other on each other's channels playing co-op,
Right,
and it's a great way to cross-pollinate. It's a great way to share content between communities and like grow the whole, like we can all grow together. You know?
Yeah, absolutely. I agree. Yeah.
I tried doing something similar to that like a long time ago.
Mhm.
Nox, you were the last one I did it with, the complete Saga series that I did or whatever. Yeah, I tried doing something similar, and then after the first 3 people that I'm very close with all said yes, I didn't know who else to ask. Rugged was
Right.
busy, and I didn't know Quick Brick or you guys back then very well, so I just didn't continue it. But I always think that's a great idea. That's partially one of the reasons why we love doing this podcast with other people, is just getting more exposure to more people and just sharing like our ideas and things we don't usually share in videos with like each other and our audience. Because I mean, let's be real, we're not going to sit down and talk about this extensively in like a normal Lego Star Wars breakdown. So it's
There's
just
no
kind of
time.
nice to do. Yeah,
there's
it's just something.
no-
Yeah,
There's
It's just something
absolutely no
different.
time. Yeah, there's so much to get through in these things. Like we like, especially when we're on the margins. Like most recently doing I think what we're having fun with making right now are these planet breakdowns, like going planet by planet, and that's just like we've realized with these, like there's so much details that like Nick and I will be there talking for like 30 minutes, and then we have to cut things
Condense
down.
it all. Yeah.
Yeah, but we'd love to do more extended talks like these, because it's just a great way to like you're saying, like talk through ideas and share like what's going on, and for the viewers to stay in touch with what's going on the creative end for all of them, like how we're thinking about approaching everything. It's a good like cross pollination again of information.
I gotta say, I'm really surprised you guys just don't have your own podcast of just like YouTube.
Yes.
That you just do on your own.
I agree.
Why don't you guys do that? That would do so well.
I feel like
You
that's what
know-
our channel kind of is, like in
I
a
mean,
way.
yeah, but
Like,
like-
we have a very like, our videos are discussions. Like it's Nick and I, like we're best friends. We're just talking like we normally do. Oh, okay. And then I know Nick has been friends with Bossk recently, so but we're just, chatting about whatever it is we want to talk about, and then everybody watching is just invited to join in. Like it's like you guys are our friends too. Like, and that's the tone that we go for, that we strive for, and I think like that it's that like it's a podcast feel to it, because we almost hand over the mic to everybody and kind of give a chance for everybody to participate in the discussion too, which is great.
You said something really interesting, and I just want to point this out. How genius your videos really are by incorporating stuff like Boss into
You're
your video.
stealing my question,
I
man.
beat you to it.
What the hell? That was my
It is so
question.
smart. Do you know how
many
smart that is?
people- How many people have asked us? Like, we get so many questions because like we're running like this Q&A that we're trying to wrap up here by the end of this week. How many questions we get? They're like, what the hell is Bossk about? Like, why is Bossk appearing on your channel? And it's like, you kind of had to have been there the whole time to like kind of get the running joke. Basically what it was I hated Bossk because of Battlefront 2. That game made me hate Bossk because like he always has the Dioxys and those landmines.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I'm getting like, I'm running around with like Anakin Skywalker. I'm getting killed by this lizard that's sitting in the back of the map. This is ridiculous. So I developed this like hatred for Bossk, and it somehow came up on the channel at some point. And then somebody suggested to us, like, you should become friends with Bossk, like make him your official sponsor. And so that's what we ended up doing, was he was like our official sponsor, since obviously we're not sponsored. And then we kind of just turned it into this whole little segment. And what's honestly the funniest thing about it is now, like, I'm like a big Bossk supporter. I went from like hating him now. Like,
Right.
now he's my boy.
I totally mended the relationship between them.
Yeah.
Like, they just got over it.
I keep seeing you post about how you wanted Bossk to be in Boba Fett.
I did so bad. We were so disappointed about that.
That was a missed opportunity for sure. But
too many other nameless Trandoshans in the show. Like they could have like thrown us a bone with that one, but they just didn't. But yeah, it's been fun with the Bossk interactions, especially like animating him and making him like pop out of the side of the screen and look around. I
also like how you incorporate like a kind of storyline between your videos. So there was hey, I'll beat you to that time. So Andreas, there was recently when you was doing your character class breakdowns, you went for I think it was like two or three videos where you went for a stage of being angry at Bossk and then making up with Bossk, which I found really cool because it's like intertwined.
If you think about it, it's like any show. When you have like a continuity to it, you start thinking like, oh, I want to go back and see like what was the beef about, and it gives people another reason to go look through and watch. It's just more like we are entertainers, like we're entertaining,
clever, man.
And so it gives people a reason to stick around on the channel to watch more content, and it's so much more interesting than just doing, hey, please subscribe to the channel. Like, because if you notice when Bossk pops up, like it's like an enlistment poster where he's like, subscribe to the channel. And we felt like every time doing it, like every video saying, hey guys, please click the subscribe button, please. How tired do you guys get of saying that? Like,
so
instead of asking, we're like giving a reason by providing more entertainment.
And it's creative, yeah.
It is.
Who's the voice of Bossk?
So that's another question. Somebody actually thought we hired Baker
to
do the Bossk lines for us. Somebody's like, how did you get Baker to do this for you? We're like, how much money do you think we have? Like, no, it's just his lines from Battlefront. There's audio files. Like, you can just pull all his audio files.
That's
I didn't know all of them are. And like, we try to like.
That's how you like. That's how he never answered what you're talking about.
Yeah, because that's why he never answers what we're talking about, because that's like we only have what we have from him. And I think what we really love the most about it is also we like doing these skits together. Like we're always trying to come up with ideas. So like that one, it was like we were trying to put this character video together, and we were so like stressed out about like getting that done and getting it right. And then I was just like, Andreas, Bossk is gonna say some shit about you in this intro. And he was like, what? He's like, do we have to do this? I was like, we got to do this. He's like, trust me, it's gonna be funny. You're gonna do this. Like, I need you to freak out on the camera. Like, I need you to just lose it.
Well, because here's the context is I've just gotten through like a long day at work, like from the time I wake up to like midnight, and we start filming at midnight, right? And then we like start talking through these ideas. And it's like 1 a.m. by now. Like, we've gotten the list together, and Nick is like, I need you to act now. And like, you've got to like get all heated on camera and get angry and I'm just there like, oh, do I really have to get into like acting mode right now? Like, do I really have to turn it on at like 1 a.m.? And he's like, it's gonna be good. Just you got to commit. And I was like, all right, like let's do it.
You just blew one viewer out there that thought you were genuinely talking to someone. You just blew their minds that you're acting.
Oh yeah.
I love that people think that we're like hiring like voice actors to do these Bossk lines, and like it's like, guys, you can go on YouTube, look up Bossk Battlefront 2 voice, and you can find the exact audio file
and
that we're
you
using.
could do that for any character. Like you could do. I've honestly recently been thinking about like exploring. Like don't say this in front of Bossk, but I've been thinking about exploring some other characters maybe, because in this protocol droid video, I had like Forlom pop up, and then Bossk was like looking at him, and I was wondering like, oh, we could have like multiple characters coming up and like yelling at each other too. So That's like something
That'd
that
be
I was
interesting, yeah.
thinking about.
And
Yeah.
they do
Genius.
communicate with each other in Battlefront 2, don't they?
Yeah, they do,
Mhm.
and
They
that's actually
reference each other's
something.
characters.
That's something we have to get around because in a lot of the Bossk lines, there's actually Chewbacca like yelling back and forth with him because they put a lot of Bossk Chewbacca interaction because they hate each other, and so we always have to like cut out the Chewbacca bits because like in between the Bossk is like just Chewbacca like Wookiee yelling going
Right.
on. So
I would hate it if anybody steals this idea. This is this is so unique to your channels, and it's great.
I mean, not even
appreciate
just that. Like the genius behind how you structure your thing, just the actual video itself. If you take all that out, is already good. So it just makes it even better. So
Yeah, of course.
yeah. Props to you guys. Props to you guys. You deserve all the
Well,
success you're getting.
We appreciate that. It makes it worth staying up until
Mhm.
ungodly hours like we do, making these videos. Is just like the response from people, and honestly, hearing it from you guys means a lot. Just because you're our peers, you're our fellow content
Right.
you
creators.
guys
so that
and you guys
definitely-
know how hard it is. Like you
Yeah.
guys know
Oh, yeah.
how
Absolutely,
it
yeah.
is. It is almost impossible to keep things fresh, to keep like to keep yourself motivated, to keep going.
Yeah,
because
that's the
like,
hardest, isn't it?
it's
Motivation.
it's long hours. It's like, and you guys have been doing it longer than us, so like you guys know the grind is real. With
Yeah,
it, with
Oh,
it's
yeah.
it's not as easy as you think going into making
not.
YouTube videos, is it?
no like
no, they
people,
definitely tell you.
yeah
They
people
tell you
don't
you
think
gotta
about
love
it.
the editing. Like
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
going in, it's you gotta love the editing phase. If you don't love the editing, you're not gonna last. And it's
But-
like
Mhm.
everyone's kind of like, yeah,
Yeah.
whatever, like sure. And then it's like 7 a.m. and you're editing. You're like, yep, they were right.
There's like there's
Yeah.
some statistic out there on YouTube that's like 70% of people that start doing YouTube quit before they get their first 1,000 subscribers.
Yes, I do remember that one.
Yeah,
And the
so
way
it's
I
something
see
crazy
it
like that.
is, I would say the more you do, the more passion you gain for making videos better. So
and then the better it just gets on its own, not even just because of you learn more. Yeah.
And then as you get as your channel grows and you start building that community, because like one thing that we noticed like at the beginning is you kind of lie to yourself a little bit at the beginning, insofar as like you're like, hey guys, like let us know down below in the comments what you think when you're talking to
It's like
literally
one person.
nobody at the beginning.
Right,
You're
yes,
not talking to anybody.
yes,
And you're like,
absolutely.
I'm doing it for you guys. And but like then once you start building a community and like actually have people interacting with your channel and they're talking or they're joining your Discord server and they're like,
right.
this interaction makes it
Mhm.
so worth it,
Yeah.
because like when you put a video out that people are going to enjoy it, people are going to watch it and reward all of the work that you've put into it, and it makes us want to work harder because we now have a certain level of expectations for both ourselves and from our viewers. Like we have standards that we have to keep, and that makes it all worth it. And it just it makes it a fun time. And then of course you have like Rugged over here with his insane editing. Like every time he drops a video, it's just like,
Right.
what
Rugged,
the hell?
it's not fair because he's going to college to be
It's
for
not
editing.
fair.
He
I
spends
totally believe
all
that. He's
day
crazy.
editing. It's not fair.
He's crazy. Like his videos are just like, what?
Mhm.
How does he have time for this?
That's what
How
I'm
did-
saying.
I know it takes me, so the kind of editing he does, and I'm not that good, but the kind of same kind of style, like it will take me probably two weeks if I was working constant, or a week, 2 weeks to work on like one of those videos, and he can get out like 3 in a week, which is bizarre to me.
And it's not just his videos. His thumbnails are like flawless. It's like every level of what he does is just perfect, and it blows my mind.
What's super cool about his thumbnails, I always take solace in knowing this, is when we started the podcast, our first episode, when we were planning for this, we were planning the thumbnail out, and then you started designing one, and Rugged's like, oh my god, that's so cool, with the white border in the...
Yes,
in the
that
thing.
was me.
That was
me.
you.
That was me.
That was you.
I
And then
take
he's been
doing
credit
it
for
ever
that
since.
completely.
You know what's funny is like that's like become an influence for now how we try to frame our thumbnails. I was like Andreas,
Right.
I was like, dude, I love that white border. I was like, that is so cool. Like, obviously, like I don't want to rip it from him, but I want to like take inspiration on that, and like because that is so good, because we were using a red border and it was just kind of boring. It wasn't really doing much, and I was like, you know what, I'm gonna try and change it up and try this white border. And honestly, ever since we did that, we did it with our character breakdown, and obviously it could be the content of that video, but that's definitely when we saw kind of a shift in
and
a
your
shift in our-
consistency in those thumbnails as well, which makes it, you know, a series instead of what I do, which just make my thumbnails all different and then it's all inconsistent.
So
but
we have you to thank for that. then.
right, yes, because I remember I'm always inconsistent with my thumbnails and I'm always changing my thumbnails. So I went for an idea of having just a white border. I never shrunk it down, but I think we must have, for like one of the podcast episodes, and the whole point was having a white border where characters overlap and underlap through the border, just to add some more depth to the thumbnail. And then we didn't actually go with it for the podcast because we used the orange border, which we do kind of do that. And then Rugged was inspired by that because we never really used it.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're. I mean, the thumbnails that you put out on your videos are great too. I noticed you would when you would you would throw them out on Twitter, you would like throw out different ideas. And I'd be like, why is he changing it? I liked it. It was so good.
Oh,
And he
man.
would change it. I was like, dude, your thumbnail is so good. Why are you changing it?
Because I upload a thumbnail and then I will tweak it, and I will probably sometimes go through like 30 different variations of a thumbnail before I actually land on one that I like. And half the time, I was very lucky with my last Lego Stars video because I actually gave myself some time to work on the thumbnail before I uploaded. But if I don't, then I could probably go through 10 to 15 more variations of a thumbnail after I've uploaded the video, changing it out. And sometimes it'll be the tiniest tweak, like a tiny bit more contrast,
This
a
sounds-
tiny bit more
This sounds
brightness.
exactly like Nick, because Nick will send me 3 different thumbnails. Because Nick, like, there's no secret in it. Nick is like our resident thumbnail guy. Like, I can't, like, he's the artist here. So like, he will send me 3 to like 5 thumbnails, and I will look at them, and I'll be like, Nick, what's the difference between any of these? And he'll be like, oh, look, the outline on like the text on this one is like a little thicker than the outline on the text on this other one, and then this
Makes
one.
a
That's
difference.
it. That is it. It does make a difference.
It does actually. Yeah.
Or like
I
the
blame
border
this
outline.
on you, Knox, because
Right.
I've gotten as bad as you when it happens.
Yeah.
And you know what the problem is I put my thumbnails in the beginning of the video, so now when I change it, it's not consistent.
Yeah.
That's why I spend so much time editing my thumbnails before I edit my videos. I spend almost the same amount of time making thumbnails when I do the videos, and then then changing it. It's a hassle. But
You know what the worst, at least for me, when it comes to making these videos, is when you have like a great video idea, and then you have literally no idea what you want to do for the thumbnail.
Oh,
Yes,
that is the
exactly.
You
worst.
sit down and
Right.
you're like, you open up Photoshop and you're just like, and Andreas obviously is like, he's putting a video together. He's like, he has expectations. Like he's like waiting on me to get a thumbnail done. And I'm just like,
Yeah,
Well, usually it's the other way
Sometimes it's
around
like that.
though. Usually I'm sitting there like editing the video like for 4, 5, 6 hours, and then Nick is there like trying to be there for emotional support after he's finished his thumbnail, like withering in his chair.
what's nice now is like, because like these character class breakdowns is just like, once you have that style established, I just have to replicate it
Right,
for the next
yeah.
character class.
Mhm.
like, for
And
the
that's why
client, but-
it's so brilliant.
another
But, man,
reason,
when-
yes.
when you guys know, when it's like you have that video and then you're sitting there staring at like a blank canvas for a thumbnail and you're just like,
I know.
Nothing.
And it's the worst
Nothing.
when there's so what I do is getting the images. That's the worst part. So
Yes.
if you have the images, you just got to put them together. But it's sometimes that's the most stressful part of making videos for me is finding the right images
I mean,
for the thumbnail.
what really, I think a big issue I was running into, and a big reason I wanted another like gameplay trailer, is because I was telling Andreas, I was like, Andreas, with
Yep.
these Lego Star Wars videos,
Yes.
I have used every single
right,
frame
right.
from the
yeah.
trailers we have so far. Like, I need something. So
Uh-huh.
those 6 minutes of just straight footage was like, thank
Yeah,
God.
So-
yeah.
imagine doing that, but for 2 extra years
I
with
know,
nothing. It's
Yeah.
so hard.
What did you pull from? Like what
Okay.
did you
So
Oh,
Me and
yeah. You go ahead. I'll
okay,
jump
so
on it in a
me
second.
and Tactical, were the first new guys to start covering the game when it was first announced. Like you had Blitzwinger, you had game unboxing reviews, whatever. Tactical and I were the first ones that started doing it, that were small, that like nobody really knew about. So both of us were just kind of sitting there like, okay, so we've already gone through like the 3 shots, because in the first trailer there's 3 shots. What do we do? So we just started Googling Lego Star Wars to see what would come up. So Tactical started doing minifigures, and I went with like the animated shows like Freemaker. All Stars was godsend for All Stars. I don't know what I would be doing without that one. But like, yeah, you just would take inspiration from other Lego animations and stuff like that. But now we don't need to. So
right, that's also what I did. What kind of is that when I first started making videos, I would use some from the announcement trailer, because you can get quite a few good shots from the original trailer with the CGI, right? But then it was finding random Lego Star Wars images on the internet, and some of the mobile games as well had some good wallpapers. And I remember my first ever Lego Star Wars video, which I accidentally deleted from my YouTube channel, was I used the wallpaper of one of the Lego Star Wars, I think, battles maybe, and it was just an image of Darth Vader. So yeah, before and even after the countdown trailer, because that didn't have great images in it either, just used random images off the internet pretty much.
I think one of the like unspoken like massive reliefs that is going to come along with this game is that if you want a shot of any character in this game, you could just go make it. Like go pull up the character, get close up on camera.
Not only can you make it, you guys know this problem. The motion blur and quality of these trailers that they upload to YouTube when you're trying to get a particular shot drive me insane. I don't know what it is with the motion blur on some of these shots.
But we saw with the accessibility article that you can turn off motion blur in the game, which is very cool. That is going to be a setting. So,
but like when I'm trying to get a picture of like Luke Skywalker and his face is like this because of the motion blur, it's just like, oh my god, come on.
Yeah. It's I don't understand how they still upload trailers in 1080p and not even 60 FPS. Like what?
I just want them in 4K. That's all I want. I just want 4K. Because I work everything in 4K. I game in 4K, videos 4K, thumbnails 1080p, but on a 4K screen. So I want all my images and everything 4K. So it drives me nuts when they do get the gameplay trailer, and especially because they did the second trailer in 4K, but then none of the other ones are.
So, you know what's funny is like about the whole 1080 30 frames for their trailer is Andreas and I were talking about this the other night when we were having some like rendering technical difficulties, and Andreas is like, is that trailer at 60 frames? Like, the trailer's not at 60 frames, Andreas. The trailer's not at 60 frames.
Definitely not. No.
Well, Nick was like, why are you rendering in 60 frames? He's like, we shoot in 30 frames, and the trailer's in 30 frames. And I was like, well, like, who knows? Maybe the trailer is.
I do the same thing. Yeah.
And I was like, and also like sometimes I put in like clips from the movies,
and that would be.
And it's like 4 seconds, and I'm like, to me, this is like a travesty if like the viewer has to watch 4 seconds of Star Wars clips in any less than 60 frames per second.
But aren't movies in 24 frames per second?
That's exactly what I said.
That's exactly what
Nick said. That's exactly what Nick said. And I was just like,
exactly what I was like, Andres, you know the movies are shot in 24 frames, right?
And I was just like holding on to 60 frames. I was like, we gotta
he wouldn't let it go. He's like, no, we're doing it in 60 frames.
Well,
I was like, okay.
Any animations or text pop-ups or stuff like that can be in 60 frames per second. So you'll have animations.
When
when this game, obviously, when the game comes out, and I'm assuming there will be a performance mode in 60 frames, then it will be like you have to render in 60 frames.
Yeah, absolutely, yeah. All right.
Do we want to move on to Book of Boba Fett?
Let's.
Oh, boy,
we talked about Lego Star Wars for like 40 minutes.
That seems like a good jumping point. I'm here to talk some Star Wars. Yeah.
So we like to do this little thing on our channel. I don't even know why we started doing this, but
you did it once. You did it once.
No, we did it twice.
Okay, all right. Did we?
It was fun.
Right, go ahead. Go on.
We give it a rating out of 10, but you can't explain why until we all give it.
Wait, like the whole show?
Yeah,
like
the whole thing, and you can't explain why until after we all do it. I'll start, and I'll probably give it a 6.5. So,
Does someone else want to go first? I need a second.
7.
I like 6.5. I was gonna go 6, but I can give it a 6.5.
I'll go 7 as well. I'll go with Andreas. We got 7 and 7 and 6.5 and 6.5. That's pretty average. You guys have done you guys have done like a video on every episode, right? Like your own like kind of podcast research and review.
We stopped when the gameplay overview trailer dropped.
Oh no. Okay.
Because like okay, first of all, those videos, as you know, you don't know because you're in a different time zone. For us, they come out right at midnight. So we have to watch the video. And then,
it comes out at 3 a.m. for him.
3 a.m. Yeah.
Well, Asteroid, you're aware. What time is that for you, Nox? Is that
what time? Midnight.
Yeah.
What's this? PST? Pacific. What's that to EST? 3 o'clock.
It's 3 in the morning for us.
And if 1:30 is 6:30, that's an extra 5 hours, which means it would be 8 in the morning.
He's got calculus going on. Like,
I don't know. I'm gonna double check that.
But
so is it
incredibly early?
Regardless, like it's like you have to watch the episode for like an hour, and then you have to film
8 o'clock in the morning. Yeah,
and these are like extended discussions at 8 o'clock. So I mean, also like that's who has time to do it at 8 o'clock there either. Like you have to go to work. Like, you have your stuff to do. So it's just it's not an ideal time for anybody. Like they just pick this totally non-optimal time for people who don't do this full time, and and then also like we got this gift of a gameplay overview trailer. So
yes.
Unfortunately, I know there were a lot of people who were like hardliners and like very much looking forward to those breakdown discussions, and we loved doing them. But like it had to take a backseat for like the last 4 episodes or so.
Yeah.
Well, maybe they get a taste of it now. You know?
Yeah, which is what I was just gonna say. Is like we've never like gotten an opportunity to discuss probably what are some of the best segments of this show in the more. I mean, this show is so hit or miss for me. Like there's so many cool moments, and then anyway, we'll get into
high highs and lows. Like
the
lows are low.
Yep. Okay.
Yeah.
So we now all have our numbers. Do we want to explain why? I can start. I think.
Go ahead.
When I heard that Disney first bought Star Wars, the first thing that came in my mind was Boba Fett movie. I've always wanted a Boba Fett movie. It's a show now, but movie ever since it was announced because they thought he was such a cool character and they can expand so much on it. I'm glad that they did, and I think that the character evolving into a more caring person is good. But he shouldn't be a pushover in every single episode except the finale. And there shouldn't be 2 episodes of The Mandalorian in the Boba Fett show.
No. Right.
When I'm thinking of Book of Boba Fett, I just take out episodes 5 and 6 because they're not Boba Fett. Boba Fett has a cameo in his own show. That doesn't make any sense. So really, when I think Book of Boba Fett, episodes 1 to 3, and then the finale. Why is the first 4 episodes so boring? The first 3 episodes should be 1 episode. The 4th episode should have more of Boba Fett doing anything. And then the finale should have a bigger confrontation with Cad Bane and have a bigger villain behind it than just Pike Puppet Master or whatever. I just think that there's so many ways that they could have done it so much better. And I don't even necessarily hate what they did with the character. But when I care about The Mandalorian more than Book of Boba Fett, and his series has been out for 3 years, and Boba Fett's been a character for 40 years. It's not. It's a little disappointing that this is what they decided to do with the show. But that's my rant. If anyone wants to share.
Yeah, definitely. When it comes to the first 3 episodes, Andreas and I were always saying that everything that happens in the first 3 episodes could have happened in the first episode. And I was thinking about this earlier, because I knew we were going to be talking about this. And what it feels like is that they wanted to use Boba Fett as a vehicle to drive the next season of The Mandalorian. And I think it's pretty clear that that's what they were going for, because all the first 3-4 episodes do are just setting up a way to get Mando back involved into the show and get him on. Here's how we get him back on planet and get him helping Boba Fett, and then I'm pretty sure the last shot of the show is Mando, isn't it? Mando flying up with Grogu.
Yeah.
And so it's pretty clear to me that like Favreau really cares more about his original character being the Mandalorian than he does Boba, which is like, that's fine. You can care more about it, but then like, this never should have happened. Just do season 3 of the Mandalorian. You didn't
exactly.
you could have done this storyline in Mando, and like it would have been okay just because of the way it was handled. And I know Andreas cares more about this than I do because he's more of that like bounty hunter, Boba Fett kind of fan. So like for me, like I love episodes 5 and 6 with the Mando stuff. Like I love that. That is like some peak Star Wars there. Like that is so good, and that's probably honestly a big reason that this show even gets a 6 for me, because I think the Boba Fett sequences, it would be hard. I'd be hard pressed to give it a 3 because I think it is ridiculous. Like you said, he doesn't do anything for himself. Like that speeder chase episode, I think that's episode 2, where they hire the like mechs or whatever they're called.
Oh yeah, that
people.
was episode 3, the Vespa gang.
He doesn't fight Chrysanthemum. They fight him. He doesn't chase down the mayor's helper. They do, even though he has a jetpack and shows up immediately after they stop him, and he could have done it.
Was so
it's like
stupid.
He never fights his own fights. Everyone does everything for him. Everyone talks for him, and then after all of that, he gets reserved to 20 seconds of a cameo appearance across 2 episodes. And it was just like, what are we doing here? Like, what was the point of this show? And then, personally, this is just a personal thing of mine. Robert Rodriguez is just not a good director for Star Wars. Like, it was Spy Kids. It wasn't Star Wars. I don't like his episodes. And I think there's a clear-cut difference. When Bryce Dallas Howard's episode comes on, the Mando episode, and just the way that like the composition of the shots and the way the camera was moving and the camera angles and the colors and the way the shots were held, it was just like, this feels so much more professional. It feels like you saved all of your budget for this Mandalorian episode. And then the rest of the episodes feel like Spy Kids. It is just like, I don't know. I'm not a huge fan of the show. I know Andreas is probably a little more upset about it than I am, just because Boba Fett is like one of his all-time favorite characters. So I don't want to speak for him, but like, I love the Mando stuff, but the Boba stuff was just like, this wasn't good. And then like my big thing is, last thing I'll say is that last episode where at the end where they're chanting his name in the end credit music, and it was like a joke. And I was like, you guys didn't take this show seriously. Why should I take this show seriously? Like clearly this isn't serious to you guys. Like you're chanting his name in the song. Like that's the best you could come up with. So I don't know. I'm just happy that Deborah Chow is doing Obi-Wan and not Rodriguez or Filoni or Favreau. Like, because Deborah Chow, I think, is like the best director they have of the group. So I'm very happy about that. If this was the same team involved in Obi-Wan, I'd be very concerned.
Yeah, I would be too.
I think it's funny that you said that I was more disappointed, but I think your rating was lower than mine.
Yeah, it was. We're the positive ones, aren't we? So
just for the record. Well, I mean, 7 is limitedly positive.
Yeah,
but
slightly, marginally, yeah.
I think, like, for me and for a lot of people, we are so starved for Star Wars content. Like, there was nothing for years, right? Like, total drought, expansive drought. And then we finally got some stuff with the sequel trilogy. We're finally getting some stuff with The Mandalorian seasons 1 and 2, finally getting Book of Boba Fett. And so it's hard to be given anything and to not be grateful for it, like, first and foremost. And at the same time, because of that, I think a lot of us feel like we're not allowed to say, like, anything opinionative, anything, like, critically about these movies and shows without, a lot of people saying, oh, you guys are ungrateful, and, like, so I just, like, off the bat, like, want to express, like, very grateful for the show, but there were definitely a lot of areas of improvement with it, and I think that's why it's kind of like a 7 for me, is that I mean, just last night, actually, I was watching episodes 4, or Chapter 4, The Gathering Storm, and then Chapter 5, Return of the Mandalorian. The Gathering Storm was probably the last true Boba Fett episode that we got in the show. that's the one that ended with the Mando theme, and that's when kind of everybody knew that Mando was coming into this thing. And there is a complete, not just tonal shift between these two episodes. The next episode is the one that Nick was talking about, where Bryce Dallas Howard was directing that one, and like there is a complete like just directional shift.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't mean that like in terms of plot, which is true in terms of plot. I mean that in terms of the overall, like I said, the feel of the show is it takes a much more serious tone. In the Gathering Storm, you have Boba Fett chasing around this little droid through a kitchen, and then he grabs the droid by the neck and he says, "I am Boba Fett." Like, it's a comedy, right? And then in the very next chapter, you have Din Djarin in a butcher shop butchering people, like with a dark saber, and then like it's just like a completely different tonal shift. That sequence, that continuity shot that Bryce Dallas Howard gets in the elevator, where he's licking his wounds and wincing in pain after cutting himself with the darksaber, is such like a quiet, intimate moment with the character where he expresses pain, and then he goes out in front of the people who called for this bounty, and like they tell him to sit down, they tell him they have another job for him, and he basically says like, "Put this thing on ice," like, and then he walks away. Like, total badass, right? Like, they've painted this like hardcore bounty hunter character, which a lot of people filled in the lines about Boba Fett while we were waiting for a Boba Fett movie, like you were talking about Asteroidmech.
I mean,
Right?
we weren't even just filling in the lines. We have extended comic storylines
Yeah,
and
that
video
too.
games of him being a complete badass, and then this is what they do. I don't know.
That too.
Mando
So, like,
became Boba Fett's character.
I think as a like Boba Fett fan, we have seen Din Djarin become exactly what we hoped Boba Fett would be. When we see Boba Fett, he's this guy who's like tossed around, disrespected. He's like beat up throughout the course of 4 episodes, like reduced to like tribal Tuscan ways. And then on the flip side, you have Din Djarin, who's coated in Beskar. He's got a dark saber, potentially claims rule to Mandalore. Like, he is the peak, the zenith of what you can be as a Mandalorian. And then Boba Fett is like doing petty stuff around Tatooine, it seems. And it's the dichotomy between characters, the dichotomy between plot, the dichotomy between direction in this show that has left me feeling that Boba Fett has been put in a place where he's almost worse off than when he started his own show. And that's the big downside for the show for me. But the big upside is that we got a lot of moments that I've been waiting to see my whole life. We got to see Boba Fett come out of the Sarlacc pit. We got to see Boba Fett reclaim Slave One. We got to see Boba Fett, period. And there's a part of me that's forever grateful for that, and for them for putting together that. And the Mandalorian sequences are some of the best Star Wars that we've seen, with a few caveats. I think this is my last point before I toss it to Nox, is that I think they brought Grogu back into the story way too soon. I think they need to show that they can do Star Wars without this cute little puppet who drives marketing sales. I think they need to show that like Boba Fett can be the savior of his own show and doesn't need a Force user like Grogu to come save the day with a Rancor that throws a fit for no reason at the end. Like, that ending was so awkward to me. And I think they built up a lot of drama in the penultimate episode where Mando cannot have contact with Grogu, and you feel heartbroken for them. And then the very next episode, they bring them back together. And not only that, I think they prematurely timed Cad Bane's death as well. Like, it's a great death, but they bring him back so epically. And then the very next episode, without getting anywhere near the most that they can get out of this live action character that they've totally resurrected from animated, Star Wars, and they've killed him off, literally stabbed him in the chest and left him in the dirt.
Mm-hmm.
So there were just some directional decisions and plot decisions that I particularly don't align with, but overall, like, thankful for the moments, gets me a 7.
We
Right.
did get the seismic charge.
Oh,
Yeah.
charged. Yeah.
There you go. All
That's
worth it.
always
Well,
that's always a pleasure.
you've summed that up perfectly. So I'm just gonna be able to build off that. So I said 7 as well. So a little bit more positive, marginally, right? Because I did kind of enjoy the Tuscan stuff. So I enjoyed everything with Boba and the Tuscans, but it was kind of mediocre. Like, I enjoyed it, but it wasn't peak Star Wars. It was just Star Wars. I was happy to watch more Star Wars. And then when chapter 5 came in with The Mandalorian, that was incredible. So at that point, I was somewhat enjoying Boba Fett, but I was not expecting at all for it to take the 180 that it took. But after watching chapter 5, it was so odd to me that it is literally just The Mandalorian season 2.5. And that was the best of this season. And in the same way you guys have already kind of pointed out already, I think it would have been much better if Boba Fett had this season to himself. Like The Mandalorian had the first season of The Mandalorian pretty much to himself. And then Ahsoka and Luke came in the second season, right? But in this season, you've got Ahsoka, you've got Luke, you've got Grogu, you've got Mando, and this is all in the book of Boba Fett, which isn't really the book of just Boba Fett, is it? And then chapter 6 came around, which was with Luke, and that I watched that 3 times. Like, I loved that episode. That is some of my favourite Star Wars there is. But I hate that it's in the book of Boba Fett, because now just even having to want to watch something like that great peak Star Wars, it's in the book of Boba Fett, where it doesn't feel like it fits very well. And then I do agree that I feel like it is mostly just a Mandalorian season 3 setup, which is alright, but it's the book of Boba Fett, it's Boba Fett. And then everything with Grogu, so on the topic of the Mandalorian, I would have definitely liked to see Grogu and Din apart for longer. I would have liked to see probably half of the first season at least, with Mando back by himself and dealing with being alone for that amount of time. But I'm definitely really excited for Mandalorian season 3 because they've set that up so well now. I just would have wished it's not going to be kind of the same as Mando season 2 with Grogu and Mandalorian. And it does kind of feel like it was kind of just like patch over the wounds, if you know what I mean, plastering the wounds by seeing the audience reaction to Grogu being taken off, and that was great. That was a great scene, and it was great that they made that disconnection because it was a negative reaction, but like it was a positive negative reaction. But then because it's Grogu and Mandalorian together that drives the sales, it's obviously been brought straight back.
It kind of just devalues that whole little like last scene where it's like, okay, they spent 4 episodes of another show apart, now they're back together. It's like the emotional weight of that is kind of like, how much emotional weight does that really carry?
Right.
You know, and like obviously like seeing Mando again was great, but it was also like, I agree with you with the whole thing about like Luke Skywalker was like, wow, this episode is so cool. Like Andreas and I spent the whole time watching and we're just like, wow, this is such peak Star Wars.
But it's not Boba
references. Yeah, we have prequel references. We have original trilogy references. He does the callback to the training sequence from Empire, and it's like, wow, this is so great. Why is this happening in episode 6 of the Book of Boba Fett? And then like when we left that planet, it was almost like we were disappointed to go back to Tatooine for Boba Fett's. And then it was like, oh, now we got to go do the Boba Fett stuff. And then it was like, oh, never mind. He's in it for 20 seconds. Never mind.
I think we've also missed an opportunity for Boba Fett's character because when you think about Boba Fett's character, they've reused this shot of a young Boba Fett looking out at the Slave One flying off in Camino, and they've touched marginally on his relationship with his father. Now, if they're going to reintroduce a Jedi into this story, this fundamentally Boba Fett story, then wouldn't we want to see as the audience how Boba Fett interacts with a Jedi
Right.
when a Jedi decapitated his father? That would have been a meaningful moment. If you're going to wrap in a Jedi into the story, that's how I would have wanted. Now, I don't want to like wish that I got anything different than what we got with, which was a very meaningful callback to Empire. It made me go watch Empire yesterday. Like I wanted to see Empire again, and it like made me tear up watching this thing because it was
You
so
know,
beautiful.
one thing you did say is it's not just any Jedi, it's Luke Skywalker. There is a
Mm-hmm.
relationship there that exists between Luke and Boba that would have been really like, I really would have liked to have seen the dynamic of like Mando trying to explain to Boba Fett or trying to explain to Luke Skywalker he was helping the other, or like he had just talked to the other. Like
Mm-hmm.
that, like if he would have interacted with Luke and being like, what are you doing? Why are you here? He's like, oh, like I'm going to like help Boba Fett, and then Luke being like, Boba Fett, like really? Or like Boba Fett being like, Skywalker, like he's the reason I'm even like big reason I'm even in this
Right.
problem is because of Luke. And like if you're going to introduce those two characters that have that clear relationship, I would have really have liked to have seen them at least find out about each other, because that
Mhm.
would have been an interesting dynamic. Because it's not just any Jedi. Like these two have a history now at this point.
I think you bring up a really interesting point about that, and as well, I wanted to add that there is the scene after the title sequence in the finale where the X-wing flies into Mos Eisley. I thought that was Luke. Do you
That
know?
was-
Okay,
Yeah,
if
that
they're
was
gonna
me.
bring
the same thing. Yeah.
That was
I-
mean, and it was irresponsible of him to leave a child
Right.
in an X-wing unattended, because R2D2 is not a responsible
No.
person.
No, no. But like even that, like we made the point earlier that we shouldn't have Grogu come in a Force user and just solve the problem for Boba Fett. I do think that it would be better if there wasn't Force users involved in the final conflict really at
Mhm.
all. But if you were gonna do it, have Luke show up. Do you know how cool that would be?
Yeah.
Like you got the technology to make him look really good. So now let's make him do some badass stuff, right? Have Boba Fett and Luke have that conversation or meet again. That would have been great. Again, I get why they didn't, but I mean, if you're gonna, I feel like that was a missed
Right.
opportunity.
Because then
I
it
don't know.
doesn't tie Luke with Boba. Luke
Right.
isn't tied with Boba at all in the season.
Right. And that's why that episode feels it's not just one step
Outpaced.
removed from Book of Boba Fett. It is 2 steps removed.
Right.
Because Mando's 1 step removed, and then Mando's relationship with somebody else is then 2
Yeah.
steps removed.
Yeah,
it feels
yeah.
like you're in another universe. Like it's like,
Mhm.
and I
You
think
know-
that's why we are left with that empty feeling there.
The last thing I want to say about it is just hearing us all talk about this is it's like they subverted expectations at every single step. Like with the Trandoshans, they keep showing the Trandoshans, they keep showing the Trandoshan family, and it's like Bossk and Boba have this really great relationship that like really if Bossk is ever going to show up, it's going to be in this show with Boba because of their relationship. No, it's just random Trandoshans. Or oh, like is it the Pikes? Is it really the Pikes, or is it like Crimson Dawn? Is it someone bigger behind them? No, it's just like nameless Pikes. And then it's like, oh, the X-Wing shows up, and Andreas and I were like, oh my god, it's Luke Skywalker like coming to fight. Like this is gonna be so cool. No, it's Grogu by himself in the X-Wing. It's like every chance they had to like have that like letdown on purpose, it's like they went for it to like subvert expectations. They're like, oh, we're gonna give you this. No, we're not. No, we're not. We're not gonna
And
give it to you. And it's like,
Not even is Grogu brought in to fix a problem for Boba, in as far as calming down the Rancor. It is a problem which, according to the lore that they set with this show, with Danny Trejo, the Rancor trainer, saying the Rancor obeys like the first person that it sees. The first person it sees isn't Grogu, it's Boba Fett. Boba Fett clearly has a grip on this Rancor, right? Like
Right.
it's like his Rancor. He's riding it around. He's the one person who should have the solution in this situation. And yet they have to bring in like like the Force wielder has to save the day. Like Boba Fett cannot be the hero. It was I think it was a miss in that regard for me. It just didn't really make too much sense. I think they just wanted at the end of the day, they wanted the shot of the very marketable Grogu sleeping next to the Rancor.
Exactly. That's what I think. Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
There's two things that you said I really wanted to build off of. You said we were talking about earlier the Jango Fett stuff in all the flashbacks. They could have done so much more with that. We could have gotten so much just Jango Fett stuff. We could have a Jango Fett story instead of a Mandalorian story, and I would have lost my mind even more. Even if Luke or whatever, bring back Samuel Jackson for whatever flashback. I don't know. That would have been such a cool opportunity to explore more of Jango's character because they're not afraid to name drop him. They've done it in the Mando season 2. So, I mean, if you're gonna show Boba looking at Jango, why don't you like develop like some family background with the Pikes and Jango having some rivalry or something and make it more of that theme of like stepping away from what you were before and becoming the new person, because that's kind of what they do with Cad Bane, his mentor, which by the way, their entire relationship is built off of an unseen Clone Wars episode. Anyways.
And they didn't even reference it. I thought they would reference it, like when he talks about, he even says, oh, I have armor, you don't. And I was like, oh, is he going to talk about how he like gave him the dent in the armor? Like, are they going to like try to tie that like unseen episode? And it was like, no, it was like, they didn't even,
there.
like,
yeah.
I mean,
you guys set it up and you didn't even like talk about it.
He could have said that. He could have been like, who dented your armor? Like
yeah, exactly. I mean,
yeah, like it was perfect. Like he's like, I have armor, and then Cad Bane could have just been like, yeah, and who dented that armor? Like,
I mean,
it was so perfect.
It's such a missed opportunity again. It just seems like they had so many cool ideas, but executed it in a way that just was to promote Mando instead of actually telling a great story. It was a disappointing way that they handled Cad Bane in general. This is the big thing. I think I'm surprised we haven't talked about more yet. Is Cad Bane? He's in live action now. He's like he's there. He looks really good too.
Yeah.
And
now he's in dead action. He's no longer in live action.
he's not in live action anymore for now. But I mean, my problem is not that they killed him off. It's the problem that he literally didn't do anything. He shot Cobb Vanth. That's it.
He sounded cool.
Walked around.
He
sounded cool.
Yeah.
He sounds very threatening.
He didn't even kill Cobb Vanth.
You do realize to walk to Mos Pelgo from Mos Eisley is like, do you know how far away that is?
Yeah, that was a long walk, right?
that dude is committed, all right?
Well, I know they did
he
that
parked
shot.
a long way away.
I know that shot of like Cad Bane in the middle of the desert, like walking towards Mos Pelgo, is like supposed to be for dramatic effect, but I was also like, Cad, have you ever heard of a speeder, mate? Like, why are you walking from like a million miles away? It's kind of funny to me.
He's like, listen, guys, this is a long walk, but it's gonna look so badass when I walk up on this town. Like, they're gonna be so scared. It's gonna be so.
They're gonna be like, this guy's a psychopath. He walks for miles.
And I'm gonna look down at my feet the whole time.
Yeah,
it's gonna be so cool.
Honestly, personally, I don't think he's dead.
No, I don't think either. No,
because like Filoni, I just can't imagine Filoni would have signed off on one of his like beloved characters coming back, and then Favreau being like, "We're stabbing him in the chest" in his first full episode.
Yeah,
and then he beeps. Also, like, as long as Darth Maul can survive getting cut in half and thrown down a reactor shaft, anybody can.
And
come
Palpatine.
Like, if they told me, they told me
somehow Cad Bane is back.
Yeah, if they
Cad
told me,
Bane,
like, oh, dude.
Cad Bane has returned in Star Wars more times than Palpatine has.
He's
returned in Bad Batch.
That's really true.
He's returned in Boba Fett. I mean, it's crazy. Like, I understand wanting to have this character, and I think Cad Bane after this show and how much of how disappointed I am with what they did with Boba Fett's character, I think Cad Bane might be my favorite bounty hunter now. So I'm not even upset about that he's dead. I just wish we got to like see him do anything. It's just you made the prosthetics and you put the CGI into his eyes and it all looks great. It's like the same thing they did with Kersantin. They made Kersantin's suit and whatever, and they brought him back for a while, and Kersantin's awesome. Why don't they like utilize it more? I don't know. If they want to retcon like the Duros lifespan, because the average Duros lifespan is like 60 years, and he's 71 in Boba Fett. So if you want to retcon that, make it like the same age as Wookiees, I don't know. I would not complain.
You bring up a good point about like how Cad Bane now might be your favorite bounty hunter, and it got me thinking about what was my favorite moment from this Book of Boba Fett show, and I realized it had nothing to do with Boba. My favorite moment was Mando at that table in the butcher shop when he did his "I can bring you in warm" or "I can bring
Right,
you in
yeah, I
cold."
love that.
And then
yeah,
that whole
yeah.
sequence, I was like, that is the memorable sequence from this show for me. Like both Andreas and I, when he said that, we're like, oh my god, he said the
That was
line.
so cold. Like
Yeah.
it
Yeah,
was
it was
just so
so
cold.
great. And I was like,
He's like, let's discuss options, and he's just like, I give you the options. You don't have any options.
and that's
Like,
like the best moment of that show for me, and it has nothing to do with Boba Fett.
You know,
Absolutely
Right.
nothing.
you know that meme where it's like the guy's sleeping and then the next one he's like real shit and it's like he's really like
Mhm.
I thought of this like in the first panel is Boba Fett shows up in Mando and then Mando shows up in Boba
Mhm.
Fett.
Mhm.
That's what it really felt like almost.
oh my
It's
And
god. Like,
and even in like Boba Fett showing up in Mando's show, it was kind of like, I don't know. It felt like they
Yeah.
didn't take it too seriously. Like his
No.
armor was all messed up, and he was kind of like, like he wasn't in the
I
greatest of shape at the time. But then
I
like
wasn't
Mando
happy.
shows up, and
Yeah.
he's like, he's loaded with Beskar. He's got a spear. He's got the dark saber, his blaster. And it's like Mando came in strapped, and Boba came in like super weak in Mando, and it was just like, clearly we care about one character here more than the other. Like the writers clearly care about one particular character here, and it's not Boba.
I'm just
Mhm.
wondering what prolonged effects this is going to have on like, I mean, clearly like people who were raised during the original trilogy have an affinity for Boba Fett. People raised during the prequel trilogy might prefer Jango Fett,
Or Jar Jar
and now
Binks.
exactly, and Darth Jar
My boy
Jar,
Jar Jar.
and then sequel trilogy people might have previously loved like Captain Phasma, but like now as a kid, if I'm thinking like if I have no history, if I have no like pre-rooted interest in any of these characters, and I'm looking at the new Star Wars coming out, I'm like, this Boba Fett guy, he's
Yeah. Yeah.
like
Yeah.
who is he's a clown, and like Mando's there with like the shiny Beskar, like you said, with this he's got the dark saber, like he's got a little Jedi like minion that he can like sick on people, like
Mhm.
it's not even close. So
We-
I think kids are gonna be picking Mando like any day now.
Well, you mentioned clown, and that made me think of the mod bike speeder
Oh.
gang.
Oh my
The
god.
Moss
Oh my
Vespa
God.
gang.
Yeah,
Oh, God.
right. How do we feel about that? Because in my opinion, that is the worst, possibly the worst thing Star Wars has ever made.
Whoa.
Well, I mean, okay.
I think you
that-
could
the
make that
holiday
argument.
special?
Right.
I mean-
Okay. No, I mean like in terms of like characters, like say like the main Skywalker saga kind of trilogy and TV shows and stuff. It feels so out of place. Not only in Tatooine, like I feel like it could have worked on Coruscant because that's kind of what they are, urban kind of teenagers. You know what I mean. But what is it? Scooters,
Riding
mopeds,
Vespas.
right? On Vespers on Tatooine makes no sense to me. And
So this
Also,
was-
they can't afford water,
they're
but
all-
they can afford these fancy ass bikes.
right, right. Why would they be in Mos Espa if they're riding around on these Power Ranger bikes? And then the spin
go,
he
like,
does
5
at
miles
the
an
end,
hour?
that
Oh
that
my
meme
God.
spin. Like
that's the
he's
thing.
already
So-
facing and ready to shoot, but he decides to spin around first just to look cool.
You can ask Andreas. I spent like the next 5 minutes of that show screaming about why did he spin.
I think we were like laughing, like it was funny.
Yeah,
Like,
I found it funny.
Yeah,
Well,
I'm
my
not
favorite
angry.
are people justifying the spin because like if you see clearly next to him a blaster bolt hits the wall and he's spun out of the way. And it's like, give me a break. Like, give me
No
a break.
He
way.
spun in the other direction from the blaster bolt.
Give me a break. Like
I like I think the blaster bolt like hits before he's like even committed fully to this spin motion.
like, come on.
But like I think the speeder bikes is like I think it was a just idea gone wrong. I think they were trying to
Right.
pay homage to George Lucas and American Graffiti with like the the mod cars and all that. And like I think it was just a total misfire where
Mhm.
like they ended up with like these bikes that are more properly out of Dr. Seuss than they are out of Star Wars. And I don't think that's like, I don't think that's a stretch of any imagination. I think they look like they're out of Dr. Seuss. And it's just like a totally like, and then the not just the bikes, but like the characters on the bikes.
Yeah, I
are,
know.
like,
It's
totally
It's
out
cyberpunk.
out of place. Cyberpunk.
It's
There you
totally
go.
out of place. And then, oh, here's the other thing is I look at the guy who like runs the mod parlor.
Right.
Thundercat, whatever.
Yeah.
Thundercat.
Yeah.
When I'm
God,
when
they've
I'm
got
thinking-
even better names, haven't they?
No,
When I
that's
was-
like isn't that the
I think that's
actor or
his-
something?
Yeah, I think because he's a bassist in like suicidal tendencies or something.
Exactly.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's a real person, not a Star Wars name. But
So like
Okay.
it sounds like it could be a Star Wars name.
it does.
But
Well, it
Like,
sounds
if it
more
was
like
bad.
it sounds more like Thunderbirds, doesn't it? Which is also quite fitting, actually.
but like we were I guess at the end of this episode, Nick and I at least were we were like, okay, like that finale like was like and then we were like,
Mhm.
please have like a post-credit scene that like blows our mind, you know?
Yep.
And then it's like the mod parlor guy,
Yeah.
and we were like, what? Like that's it? Who
We're
to
like
me,
Obi-Wan teaser. Obi-Wan teaser.
To me,
Yeah,
Obi-Wan
that's
mod-
what I wanted. Yeah.
to me, like the mod parlor guy is kind of an extension of these like modded people, you know, like he's
Mhm.
enabling these like Power Ranger like cyborgs to like go run with their Dr. Seuss bikes everywhere. So it was just kind of like, okay.
That parlor scene was straight out of Cyberpunk. Like if you play Cyberpunk, that exact scene happened in that game. Like that was not Star Wars. That music, like I know, like Andres and I are big on the music, and we're like, what the hell is this?
That is the worst Star Wars music I've ever heard.
It's
Oh,
not
like,
even Star Wars.
that is not an
music. It was just,
exaggeration.
I don't know. The Clone Wars movie.
The Clone Wars movie, okay, if
And-
in the context of the movie, it's not good. If you put it in somewhere else, it's not terrible. It just
Okay.
doesn't sound good in this new scene.
It's a power
awful.
drill, just like
Yeah.
Right.
It's
It's
like
the-
so I think the Mandalorian finale with the you know, with the Dark Troopers, like with the dubstep was like kind of interesting. But like it was like, okay, like I kind of get it. And then I think they were trying to do this kind of similar thing with this mod parlor and like, you know, stretch the bounds of where Star Wars music can go. And I think it like is a testament to how powerful John Williams' influence is to the
Yes.
feeling of Star Wars. And when you supplant some other thing, it like totally derails the vibes.
Absolutely.
And like I think the Mandalorian soundtrack did a great job of showing what we can do to spicing things up and give a new feel to the musical side of Star Wars. And I think Boba Fett was like, you know, we pushed it in Mando. We're gonna see how far we can push it with this show. And I think they took that and they went with this like incredibly melismatic vocal segments throughout the Boba Fett theme, with the like power drill dubstep, and I think they to quote George Lucas, I think they went a bit too far in a few places. You know, I think if they were looking at this like musical score, I think they would be like, you know, maybe we should have gone with if you listen to I think Samuel Kim put together a variation of the Boba Fett theme with brass instrumentation for the vocal bits, and it sounds incredible. Like it is a great theme.
I haven't heard it.
Like go listen to it. It's a great theme when you have proper instrumentation carrying the actual theme itself. When you have, you know, melismatic draconian vocals carrying it, it is like it sounds more medieval than it does Star Wars. So I think it's just like again, just like the show, it's these little decisions that are being made to freshen things up, which are making things feel anachronistic or out of place. Which is like, I think that's why we all get this like 7-ish vibe from these things right now.
Yeah.
I think the biggest thing that comes to music with this show that I'm surprised I haven't seen anyone talk about is I'm really disappointed that they haven't used the original Boba Fett music ever since they brought it back.
The like
from
departure.
Yeah, That is
Yeah.
that is such a good soundtrack. I don't even know how they didn't even incorporate, like, if you're gonna make a new theme, you didn't even incorporate the do, right? Like, why? That's like
Mhm.
such an iconic part of the character. Like, it's his intro thing in Battlefronts. Like, it
You
seems
know,
like they really wanted to take a new direction with it, and they did it to the point where it doesn't feel like Star Wars at times.
that was a big thing. Andreas brought up a good point with the music, is that dropped like a few hours before the first episode, and Andreas and I are very like we've been really involved in music just in our personal lives, like doing different things. And when we were listening to it, a big thing for me was like exactly what he said with the vocals. I was like, why are the vocals carrying the melody here? And like you can only do that when you have vocals that are doing something meaningful. When they're just like humming over the top,
Mhm.
like what are we doing?
Duel of the Fates is like a
It's
prime
actual,
example.
yes, it's
is
actual lyrics.
Duel of the Fates is like nobody in the Star Wars community is gonna say Duel of the Fates is trash, right?
No,
It's like
no,
it's one of those
It's amazing.
it's iconic. It like puts a total hallmark on that fight between Qui-Gon, Obi-Wan, and Darth Maul. And the vocals, that's probably the most vocally involved. It is the most vocally involved John Williams piece in Star Wars. And it involves lyrics in, is it Sanskrit, Nick?
I think it's something like that. It's something like Sanskrit. It's either Sanskrit or it was like some I forget. It was like some like Welsh or something like that.
It's something like that, and it's like I think it's either from like a Sanskrit poem like translated to Welsh,
Yeah,
or a Welsh,
something like
or a
that.
Welsh poem translated to. It's like something like very well thought out, and the lyrics like were selected in such a language to where the vowels were like the proper vowel set for the like overall shape and theme of the song, and the lyrics have to do with this great battle that's going on. What I'm saying is, like, it's not just like, voices just going like da 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 da, like it's like which is more.
Sanskrit. I just
Yeah,
looked it up. It's Sanskrit.
Okay, there you go. So
Right.
you could. So I don't know. It's like it's just.
You brought up the Sam Kim stuff, and it was funny is when we first heard that song, both of us were like, this would sound so much better if the instruments were doing this, like the brass, you had a brass or a string section doing this. And then I found the Sam Kim video and I sent it to Andreas, and the first thing he said was like all caps was like, I was right, the brass, like the instrumentation had to be there. And it's like,
I think this is a metaphor for my opinion on Boba Fett, on the Book of Boba Fett in general. I think good song, wrong instrumentation. I think they're doing the right thing. They're spending an entire show on Boba Fett. It's a good song, but the decisions they make along the way, the directing and the plot points along the way, wrong instrumentation. Like I think it should have just been done a little differently. So if I had to put it to a bumper sticker, that's it for me.
Yeah, I did this thing with my Discord server where we a couple of us, after we finished watching it, we all decided to kind of contribute and rewrite the show, and in a way that would make sense, not like rewrite it completely because it's all garbage. No, we just like reorganized it and took some things out, added some things in, and a lot of what you just said is what I agree with. Like, there's so many unnecessary things that they could have done so much better that would have elevated the show, but just took the wrong direction. Again, the mods, that could have been somewhat cool. Like, I don't even see why they went with that in the first place.
I would have completely removed them.
I mean,
want a cut of the Book of Boba Fett without the mod gang.
I want a cut of the Book of Boba Fett with just the mod gang, called like the Dr. Seuss cut. Well, something I'd like to end on, like, more of like a positive note.
Yeah.
Maybe we can go around and like say like what our favorite moment from the show is, because I feel like I don't want to just like dog on it.
Yeah. Okay.
And there were some clearly incredible moments throughout the show. So I don't know if you guys wanted to,
let's do that.
chime in on that.
You want to start, Knox?
Yeah, I'll start. Okay. My favorite part would be, and it's should we? I can't really say my favorite Boba Fett part, because my favorite part wouldn't be Boba
Fett. We were so close.
We were this close to being nice about the show, and you threw it right back into the other direction.
Okay, yeah. Luke. Luke training Grogu was my
Wait, okay. Let's pick a favorite Boba Fett. I think we all.
Yeah.
that's
So
probably-
right. Okay.
Favorite Boba Fett moment from the show.
All right. Right. Can somebody else start because I am gonna
Yeah.
need a moment.
Question for the class here. Does Cad Bane count as Boba Fett stuff?
No, no,
damn
Astroidmech.
I'll
Cad
give you-
Bane
I'll
is
give
not.
you-
Oh,
Boba
actually,
Fett
I've got one.
either.
I've got one. Before anyone else steals it, I've got one.
All right.
Him, finding the Tuscan camp dead, and then being.
It's like the biggest tragedy. Like it's like what they call it.
I enjoyed that. That was a good scene though. When he was burning
was a
the,
good scene.
the Tuscans.
Yeah.
Right,
And
there you
why?
go.
If you wanna elaborate, like what was so good about that moment for you?
That's a good question.
No, you can't give a reason. Oh no.
Because Tuscan died,
No.
and he cried, and it was great.
Yeah, it was just no, I can't actually.
Because
All right.
you had such an emotional connection to the
Yeah.
Tuscan Raiders that it was devastating.
Well,
that
but
they-
probably because, unfortunately, my favorite scene in the Book of Boba Fett would, well, so if I would put, say, my probably top 10 favorite scenes, Boba Fett would probably be not in that list. So I don't really have a big connection with that scene, but it would be my favorite Boba Fett scene. Because everything that's the Mandalorian and Luke, I do prefer. So the series is still great in that aspect. Like chapter 5 is amazing. Everything about that episode is incredible, and chapter 4 as well. So there is still some good in this season.
I think that's like a perfect testament as to what our issue is with the show. Is like that statement right there. Is like
Right.
you could like the Boba Fett isn't in like the top 10 of moments,
No.
and your top moment is like without like remarkability. You know, it's
No,
like
exactly. Yeah.
And
so.
I say when he's cutting the pipes to to Jabba's palace, and we get that dope ass sound from episode 3 of Count Dooku getting his head cut off. They use
Oh
the
my God.
effect.
That is so. Your favorite part of the show was a
No, in a
sound
more
effect.
serious note, is probably when he chases down the biker gang with
The Nyctos.
yeah with Slave One, and like he's like that was the
That
most
was-
Boba Fett got. in
That
this entire
was
show.
definitely like okay to give like Boba Fett some credit. I know like I kind of painted him as like chasing around like the little droid around the kitchen like a cartoon, but like that was like a pretty like aggressive moment for like Disney Plus Star Wars was him gunning down this like Nycto
Was it though?
biker
Because
gang.
Mando cut someone in half.
It's pretty
After
pretty
stabbing him
aggressive.
in the chest,
I
and then
know
cuts
it's
his
not-
head off.
Okay, it's not on the same level like as like Mando cutting somebody's head off like and carrying it in a bag, but like it's definitely like a very aggressive thing to do. So, what about you, Asteroid?
Okay. I think if it's purely Boba Fett, I would probably. I think my okay.
You've
it's
had
not
so much
easy.
time.
I know.
You've
I
had
know.
so
I
much
had
time.
it. No, I had it. So I think it would be Cad Bane versus Boba Fett at the end because I have a deep connection with both of their characters' history. But that's why I was confused because I wasn't sure. I'm not sure if that would count, but I think it would. I like how they handled it. And again, my problem isn't that Cad Bane died; it's that he wasn't in it enough. So that's not my issue with the scene. So I think that would probably be my favorite scene just because of the connection.
Mm-hmm. That's a good
That's a
one.
good one.
Yeah.
I think for me, it's either I don't know why, but I've had this like fascination with Boba Fett's relation to this Sarlacc pit for like
Oh yeah, of course. Yeah.
for ages, and like it's because your whole childhood you're taught that this guy is like still rotting in this pit, right? And then to see him that scene where he like grabs the respirator from the stormtrooper inside of the Sarlacc pit to like give himself that last breath he needs to break free. But then I think when he left the Sarlacc, a lot of people felt like they didn't get the right closure. Like I heard a lot of people saying we didn't spend enough time in the Sarlacc pit. And
I actually agree with that. I'll
I know
explain later.
there's two camps on that. I think some people are like, well, how much do you want to see this guy decomposing in a pit? It's like
Right.
weird.
Yeah.
And then there's another group of people that are like, well, we want to see, like, he's been there for so long, for some people like 15 years or so, right? Well, like, not in canon, but I'm saying like in real time, like we've all
Mm-hmm.
our lives have been going on for like years and years, and he's been in this pit. We want to see what's going on in there. Um, and I think one of my favorite scenes, if not my favorite scene, having to do with Boba Fett is when he returns with the Slave One. And I think it's just a well shot scene that is like, it shows how like, I've never been like horrified by the Sarlacc pit, but I think they did a great job of boosting up the horror factor of the Sarlacc pit when you have this thin layer of glass in the Slave One cockpit, and
Mm-hmm.
you see how powerful the Slave One is. It just like, it can axe down a whole group of Niktos in the scene preceding this scene. Like, it's a very powerful ship, and yet it is hovering just slightly above the Sarlacc pit, and you get this feeling in your stomach like something's not right. Like, it's just, they played on the feeling of the scene so well. And then, like, you get to see him there, like, with the flashlight looking into the Sarlacc pit, and it's really a moment of confronting his biggest failure.
Mm-hmm.
As Boba Fett, his lowest low is when he's in this pit, right? And he's there, like, he's gone through it. He's gone through the whole Tusken things. He's gotten over, well, he thinks he's rectified the tragedy of the Tuskens by killing the Niktos. We learn later that he did no such rectification because it was, the Pikes were behind it. But he's at this stage where he's back on the saddle, and yet he's going back. The first place he goes back to is to where it all began, where his downfall climaxes. And it's a very good moment for me. I think it was a great decision to go back, and it was just done. It was orchestrated perfectly to where there's that feeling of this character's in danger right now, which you don't see with characters. I think a problem with that is shared between Boba Fett and Mandalorian is these characters are covered in Beskar, and so
Right.
they rarely feel like they're in danger.
Yeah,
They don't just have
plot
plot
armor, yeah.
armor, they have literal armor.
Right.
And so when you put them into a position like this where they're being, tugged down with that thin sheet of glass, and then the ending moment to drop the seismic charge on the Sarlacc.
Mm-hmm.
I think when he was driving up to the Sarlacc, Nick and I were jokingly like, "Oh, is he gonna drop the seismic charge in the Sarlacc? Because it could be like the biggest like revenge tour for Boba Fett ever." And that's exactly what ends up happening. Is like, it was just like, it was totally like Nick. I think, Nick, this is the only episode that we got to watch together, right? This is when you were out here in LA with me, and he saw the look on my face when he dropped the seismic charge. I was like totally gobsmacked, jaw dropped, like, whoa, like, that is cool. So I think Boba Fett got at least a few cool moments in the show.
Yeah. The thing with that scene, and just specifically, is that I wish Boba Fett was the one to do it himself instead of Fennec. But like,
that's true.
Honestly, I didn't really care that much. I was just happy it happened. But it would have been cool if
doing it for him.
Yeah, once again, somebody else doing something for Boba Fett, I guess.
Yeah.
But I think close second for me is also like Boba having a meeting over the Rancor pit was like a pretty cool image. I thought that was like on the tier of like, Godfather putting a horse head in somebody's bed. Like, it's very like threatening, totally contrary to Jabba ruled with fear, I intend to rule with respect. And then he has a meeting over a Rancor pit to make people afraid. But still very cool nonetheless.
Yeah.
I enjoyed that scene as well.
Yeah. Just before, I think we might want to wrap it up soon.
Okay.
Before, I wanted to just elaborate a little bit on the actual return of Boba Fett in the beginning, because I mean that is the scene that we've been waiting for 40 years. There's so many like fan edits or whatever. You did say earlier that there's like the two camps of people. I'm in the camp of people that thought that maybe we should have stayed on it a little bit more, and it's not because, like you guys were saying, we just want to see him decompose in a pit for a bit. It's like we cut where he's shooting a flamethrower, and then his hand's like 10 feet off from where the Sarlacc pit is, and he just pulls out. And it's super cool. I love the scene. I just wish that we could have spent a little more time there. But Nox, you seem like you were in the opposite opinion. Was there?
Well, no, I just like how it was done. I really enjoyed that whole Sarlacc pit scene. Yeah.
Yeah, fair enough. I mean, I loved what we saw. I just wish it was a little bit longer. But I mean, overall, I think the show might. Mm, okay, this is a kind of a different question. Do you think that this show is better or on par with The Bad Batch? Because that's
Oh
what the most
God.
recent Star Wars we got, and that was also controversial. Do you think this is better than Bad Batch or not?
Yeah, better. It was better. I almost fell asleep watching the last few episodes of Bad Batch.
Yeah,
Honestly, I like the show better. Just
I
because like they fell into that same Filoni kind of and Favreau have this issue of falling into this trap where they will be like, character goes to X planet, needs something. They find the person they need, but this person then needs them to go do something for them in exchange for the information that they need. We saw that a lot. Kind of Mando fell into that trap a little bit, and I felt like that was kind of like a good solid chunk of the Bad Batch was like they needed something, so they went and then like they had to go do all that stuff for Sid to get like the information they needed or like the resources they need or whatever. And it was just kind of like it wasn't a bad show. Like I really enjoyed getting to see like Camino again and like them like finally kind of resolving the whole Camino thing with the Empire. I think Bad Batch was probably worse off for me than Boba. Not to say it was bad, but I think Boba gave us more of those Star Wars moments I was after than Bad Batch did. But I'm more interested to see a Bad Batch season 2 than I am to see a Book of Boba season 2 if that's something they do.
Yeah, me too. I think it speaks volumes that the biggest thing that we can pick out with Filoni's animated shows, this is so true with Rebels, which is why so many people don't like it, is it's like half the season's filler. They fell into that trap with Bad Batch, but it was shorter, so they had less time to do those filler things. So for me, if we're looking at Bad Batch and Book of Boba Fett, I think I would also say Boba Fett, but not because of Boba Fett, because of the Luke Skywalker and Mando stuff. If it wasn't for the Luke Skywalker and Mando stuff, and Cad Bane Cad Bane's in both of them actually, so I don't even really care. I probably would pick Bad Batch just because I really like that animated era of Star Wars and all that. It really brings me back. Clone Wars is like is my heart and soul. So I
Clone
I
Wars is
guess
good.
I would agree with you about Boba Fett being probably better. But what do you guys think, Andreas, Nox?
Nox, I'll let you go first. I know you.
Well, it might disappoint Andreas and Nick to know this. I haven't completely finished watching the Clone Wars.
I keep trying to force it.
I'm in season 4. I am watching it now. Like I'm on the road to finishing the Clone Wars now. So
It's
right
not
now,
easy to get through. There's a lot.
No,
There's a
it's
lot of
not. Especially with 25 episodes a season. Or 22.
Trying to run your channel and you got other stuff going on, and then you gotta get like hundreds of episodes
work and stuff. Yeah, so right now I think I'm on season 3, episode 14, something like that. So I haven't seen The Bad Batch, so I can't compare the two.
Okay.
Oh, I forgot about that actually. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I think
Now I
for
feel
me,
bad.
like when
No,
I'm
that's fine. That's fine.
when I'm thinking like what do I prefer, Book of Boba Fett or Bad Batch, it's which one pushes the needle forward for Star Wars and gives us, because that's when I think we all get interested in Star Wars, is when is it on the cutting edge? What's pushing things forward? What's teaching us new things and giving us new conflicts to explore? And Bad Batch is operating in an area where when I was thinking of the Bad Batch from a theoretical standpoint of like hearing, oh, we want to tell a story about how the clones got to the point where they are enlisted soldiers in the Empire, and we're also going to throw in a brand new character in Omega, which is going to reach some sort of fruition that we don't know about yet, right? Now, I like enjoyed when Bad Batch was on the cutting edge in those areas. I don't think they're big areas that needed a whole show to explain, but I appreciate the fleshing out nonetheless. But then it does fall into that Filoni formula that you were talking about, Nick. And I think this is one reason why I am disappointed to see Grogu rejoining Mando, is I think I have a fear that we're rejoining a formula with Mandalorian as well.
Right.
And I was really excited when we were on the cutting edge of the end of Mandalorian season 2. There was a big dynamic shift in Grogu and Mandalorian parting. It was going to supposedly break the formula, right? And then we spent all of one episode in somebody else's show, Chapter 5 of Book of Boba Fett, of that breaking the formula, and it was outstanding. And now I fear that Mandalorian season 3 might be returning to the same formula where, Mando's going to be taking bounty jobs and he's got the kid with him.
I don't
and
know. I
It might return.
I feel like they are going to just bring back as many characters as possible now. They've seen it works in Mandalorian season 2, and that's why I think that they've just brought back so many more characters in the Book of Boba Fett. You've got Cad Bane, Ahsoka, Luke, Grogu, Mandalorian, and it's Cobb Vanth. That's the one I was thinking of, right? But so that's why I think in Mandalorian season 3 we're gonna see a whole new host of
I hope you're
returning
right.
characters.
Like I really hope you're right. Because I would love to see some like at its best, I think Boba Fett sort of like I didn't agree with the way that it did it, but it sort of refreshed the formula in some ways. Even though I think it was a bit like, and this is something we haven't talked about yet, I think it bounced back and forth timeline wise a bit too much for my liking.
Yeah,
It was
good point.
as a diehard Star Wars fan, at times, like when I'm resuming randomly in the middle of an episode that I just want to go rewatch, I have to think for a second, like, what point are we at in this timeline right now? Because it bounces back so much. But like at most, it refreshed the formula, and I hope they continue to do that with Mando season 3. I really do. For their sake, for all.
Have you guys seen the set photos for Mando season 3 or not?
I've seen a few, yeah.
Oh yes, I have seen a few leaked ones. Yeah.
I've been kind of avoiding them, to be honest.
Yeah, but it kind of spoil. Like it can kind of spoil.
I mean,
I will say the one thing with Mando season 3 is if you're gonna talk up the whole like earning the Darksaber, earning the right to rule Mandalore like they did in Episode 5, and showing like the destruction of Mandalore, like that's got to pay off somehow in season 3. Like to me, that's how you push season 3 into that next level. Is where stop dealing like if it goes back to like Andreas was saying with like just him taking bounty missions with Grogu, it's going to be like, why are we doing this again? Like, what is the point of this? But if we are like, all right, Mando's going to go figure out like the whole Mandalorian issue, earning his right to be a Mandalorian again. Apparently he needs to do that. And then like reclaiming Mandalore, which that whole thing with like him not having the right to be a Mandalorian anymore because he took his helmet off is still something that I've always been like, they spend the entire Clone Wars taking their damn helmets off, and then like now it's an issue, and it's just like I know it's an issue with like different like
creeds.
They kind of talk about it with Bo-Katan, like Bo-Katan's like, oh, he's one of those Mandalorians, like because she takes her helmet off, and it's like they kind of touched on it, but it's like I don't know, that whole third season has to deal with that. I would love to see personally, just because I love Bo-Katan so much, she's one of my favorite characters. I would love to see some sort of conflict between the two of them for the Darksaber, like seeing her having to deal with it, because that's like what she was after the whole time. And one thing going into this Mando episode, I was telling Andreas was like, does he have the Darksaber? Like, does he have it? Did he give it to her? Does he have it? That was like what I was fixated on when he first showed up, was if he had it. And now knowing that he does have it, of course, I would like to see how Bo-Katan is dealing with that.
I think
I can't imagine she's dealing with it very well.
There has to be a Bo-Katan conflict over this Darksaber. There just has to be, especially now that we've learned about this newfound animosity of the armor telling Din Djarin that Bo-Katan is a precautionary tale who scattered the Mandalorians to the four winds and like led to the destruction of Mandalore. Like this is a thing that has to be fleshed out with Bo-Katan involved, not like with her off scene. I think that's the biggest potential of Mandalorian season 3, and it's yet to be seen whether they'll capitalize on that. I really hope they do.
Yeah, I think that is also probably that scene is probably my, I wouldn't say biggest complaint, but it's probably one of the bigger issues I have with the Mandalorian stuff that they put in Book of Boba Fett is that he just shows up in the butcher shop with the Darksaber. What happened? Did Bo-Katan and Mando just walk off, sit in silence in the spaceship, and then just walk away? Like,
True.
what happened there? I want to know what happened there. But
I mean, they're gonna probably have
Yeah.
more flashbacks,
Yes.
which
I
if you
assume
didn't
so.
if you didn't like the flashbacks, then I think you're gonna be
All
you know.
I can think of is like after Luke leaves, just like them awkwardly standing there and like on the control deck and just being like Bo-Katan being like, "So, what you gonna do with that Darksaber, Mando?" Like,
Yeah.
just incredibly awkward. Like,
All right. So so this podcast is going on for a decent amount of time already. We don't want to stretch this out any further, but Kenobi, can we talk about Kenobi?
Oh my
God.
Because
Let's
You just
that
added
is
an
going
hour
to
to the
be
podcast.
incredible.
Andreas?
Yeah.
I got to show you this.
you just
No.
I have Anakin.
Oh my
That's
God.
brilliant.
Wait, why haven't
Let's
you had
go.
that behind
Yeah,
you
you
for
should have-
continuity purposes?
Yeah, I have it. I've had it right behind my
you
computer
gotta
the
put
whole
that
time.
up.
I'm saying on camera. You gotta have that beauty on
Oh,
camera.
sure. You know what? You're right.
All right, before we dissolve into another hour of this, let me just
Right.
say for
You
both,
just-
for both Andreas and I, Obi-Wan is our all-time favorite character. This is like literally a dream come true. We even tried to make a fan film back in college about Obi-Wan. We wrote a full-length script, like screenplay over it. Like he is everything to us when it comes to Star Wars. So like even seeing that like the poster was incredibly emotional for both of us when he got brought back on stage back at D23 in 2019. Both of us made like unintelligible noises when he walked on stage. Like this means like the world to I think both Andreas and I. Like this is like
It's
we
surreal.
both are like
Yeah.
we're both
It's
like
totally
this is going to
surreal.
be the best thing Star Wars ever does. Like it's going to be. Like, it has
I'm
to.
in the same boat. Ever since I saw the prequels, Ewan McGregor is top two like him and David Tennant are my favorite actors of all time, and and Obi-Wan Kenobi or Ewan McGregor as Obi-Wan is easily and has always been my favorite Star Wars character. So this is a dream come true. I never it still is kind of unbelievable we're getting Ewan McGregor return 17 years later,
And not just Ewan, but also
but Hayden Christensen as well.
Hayden Christensen is having the biggest comeback tour
I know.
perhaps ever. Like this is a guy who was totally berated for his performance in the prequel trilogy is now I think this must be like really impactful for Ewan McGregor as well to see these films being so like not well received when they were released, and now the generation who was
Right.
brought up with them is now old enough to have a voice in any regard and has a voice monetarily with being able to support these things. And it's just like great to see that they're finally getting the appreciation that they rightfully deserve for putting together some of the most meaningful Star Wars we have in those segments of Return of the Jedi, which we are after so many years going to finally open up a lot of these wounds that we think have closed but are very much not. I know a lot of these reports of like a raging, vengeful,
Oh, I know.
Rogue One, but even more pissed off Darth Vader, knowing that Hayden Christensen is going to be in the suit makes it that much more personal, because this isn't just like, you know, some like we don't have to do any imagining here. This like we're seeing it. We are seeing like a rematch between these two people. There's no time gap. There's nothing that you have to like pretend anymore.
No,
this is like what we are getting, fully fledged rematch. It's just going to be incredible if they pull it off in the way that they can. It has such a high potential at a theoretical level beyond anything else that they've tried to do so far.
And for people like Asteroid and I, Ewan was saying that they filmed scenes as Anakin and Obi-Wan, so maybe some Clone Wars flashbacks going in there.
Right.
If
which is
Satine shows up at all, I will actually cry. I will be so. I will absolutely lose it.
My reaction to people being like, "Oh, Darth Vader, Obi-Wan fighting," like that ruins the whole like Episode 3, Episode 4 sequence. I'm just like, shut up, it's cool. Like that concept art, that's so cool. Like,
you know, with this Kenobi show, it's not even just Obi-Wan and Vader that are coming back. We're getting all of the Inquisitors in live
I know,
action.
that's
The
so
Grand Inquisitor.
cool.
The Grand Inquisitor was, I think it was officially cast. It's the Jason Isaacs is what I'm looking at right now. He
Right.
plays Voldemort, or not Voldemort.
I'd
The
say
blonde-haired
yeah,
kid's
that's
dad.
back.
No.
Somehow Voldemort returned.
Well, other returning
the
characters.
blonde kid in Harry Potter, his dad. He's the
Yeah,
same.
Malfoy.
Oh,
Oh,
yeah.
yeah, I know him.
Yeah, it's that guy. Apparently, is what I'm looking at. I am so excited because I always thought the Grand Inquisitor was probably the most underutilized part of Star Wars Rebels. So
He has
I'm
the
so excited.
weirdest motive.
He kind of did.
It's the most interesting dynamic he has for why he's doing the things he's doing. But like, no, you bring up a great point. It's like Vader, Obi-Wan, Anakin. We're bringing the Inquisitors back. It's like, oh my god! Like, they're like, fine, you wanted everything, we'll give you everything.
Yeah.
Like, you wanted
I
the
mean-
show that's gonna like. How do you top this? Like, how does like you
Yeah,
follow up the show with
Yeah.
anything after
no,
this?
exactly.
I
I think
don't know.
the biggest
Like Andor's coming after. Like,
I think
I feel like that one could be a surprise. How good
That
it is.
one could
but-
be
I think it
surprise.
could.
Yeah.
if they treat it
yeah.
like a James Bond kind of globe-trotting series, that would be
Please
really
have
cool.
some globe trotting, because
Star Wars is.
Star Wars has a Tatooine problem, and we don't want to talk about it. It's like we have to have an intervention.
There's all those set photos with the shore troopers, so I'm not too.
There's no shore on Tatooine, so that's
Well,
good.
actually,
The
you're
whole
right. I
thing
guess.
is a shore. Don't understand.
but
There's
like
one little.
If you're ever going to use the shore troopers, it should be on Tatooine.
The shore
which is, like,
troopers,
Right.
shore
a
troopers
whole
are the
other
most
thing.
pointless troopers.
They are.
that have
That
that-
is
like,
the
why did it?
stupidest concept I've ever heard of. They're like, so when they were on Scarif, were those troopers like, oh my god, like finally, let's go. Like they're finally
Here's my thing. Here's my thing is like, why do we have shore troopers? Oh well, there's water there, and it's
Yeah,
like, okay,
right.
so are you like a hydro trooper? Like, do you have like scuba material or something? And they're like, no, we're not for the water. We're for next to the water. And I'm
for
like,
the beach.
but if you're for next to the water, then like, what does it matter if the stormtroopers are fine with being like on regular ground? And they're like, it's just because we're next to the water. We just have to look the part here. Like, this is like the beach getup. But anyway, like, I think that the biggest like thing that Obi-Wan can do wrong is maybe stay on Tatooine the whole time, which I don't think that's what it's going to
Clearly
be.
isn't going to happen.
Because
Vader cannot come to Tatooine.
yeah, that I mean he hates sand. Why would he?
Yeah.
But like,
fair point.
but I think that's the other thing. Like, I think definitely some of my favorite parts of Boba Fett strayed from Tatooine a bit as well.
Mhm.
I hope Obi-Wan strays from Tatooine. The galaxy's big, guys. Like, why don't we go explore it a little bit? You know?
I don't
Back to
want
Coruscant.
to. I don't want to say it on the podcast in case there's people watching who don't want to know. But are you guys familiar with the beginning plot leak or whatever? Like the big,
No.
like the rumor. I'm not going to say it on the
about,
podcast.
about how like the first few episodes go down. And
Yeah,
I
everything.
haven't.
Yeah,
I
read that.
I'm kind of stepping
So-
away. I want to go in fresh.
Yeah,
Yeah,
you
I
definitely
don't-
don't want to hear this then.
Yeah, I don't
Me
want to.
too.
I'm not going to say it in the podcast, but I wouldn't worry about Tatooine being too much of an issue.
Oh, yeah, I've kind
Yeah,
of
I wouldn't
heard
either.
things.
I
Yeah.
think we
I
can
wouldn't
read
either.
between the lines on it. Is like, but also like I thought it was funny that like I was talking about this in our we did a video where we were talking about the poster, and I think the one thing that we know about this show is that like, or where that we know about Obi-Wan is that it's Obi-Wan is going to be in the show, first of
Mhm.
all, and second of all, we know that he's going to be on Tatooine at some point. And I thought it was so funny that the only thing that the poster revealed was that it's
It was
Obi-Wan.
Obi-Wan on Tatooine.
Tatooine.
You're right.
And like
2020 year.
and
this year-
everybody is fixated on this lightsaber is like
Right.
the thing to talk about right now.
Although,
Not Obi-Wan's lightsaber.
tonight isn't, or in the next week, so maybe by the time this episode goes out, we will have a Kenobi trailer. So it's because right now, if we do get it, is it Super Bowl halftime that is
Yeah, it's-
expected?
yeah.
So it's not confirmed.
8
It
p.m.
might not be out at all. But it's a shame that this discussion that we're having is happening before we're seeing the trailer, because that is gonna be incredible.
So
You-
do you
you know
guys
what's-
think
we're
there's
gonna
going to be a
cry.
trailer?
We're
Do
gonna
Oh, I
cry.
100% think there's gonna be. Yeah, I do. I think we're getting
Oh.
too close.
Oh,
You know,
don't
I
get-
think
don't
we need
get
a
me-
Bad Batch
Don't get
season
me
2
too
trailer.
excited, man.
We need it. That's
What-
coming out.
what-
That's
what
coming
if-
out this year. You do realize
What if the halftime show is just a Bad Batch season 2 trailer?
Well, we're
No
already getting a
Kenobi.
Moon Knight trailer and a Isn't we're already getting a Moon Knight trailer, and there's supposed to be like a Doctor Strange 2 trailer, isn't there?
I've seen
Yeah,
enough of
there's
Moon
there's
Knight.
gonna be a
I'm
TV
ready to
spot
see it.
for Strange.
I'm totally ready to see
I've
Moon Knight.
actually not seen like anything of Moon Knight. Like I've
my
seen the costume, and that's enough for me to go. It doesn't look interesting enough.
No, I would watch the trailer that
Yeah.
it already exists because I was like, what, like, I wasn't aware of like I'm not in like the weeds with Marvel like Nick is, but like the trailer is very appealing. I think it's going to be a very good show, and Oscar
Alright,
Isaac I
okay.
think is going to do great. So I think it's worth
My-
looking into.
The last thing I will say, and then because we're running on for so long, and then I am done, I will stop, is the fact that Marvel can pull into their bag and grab like their C tier and D tier characters, and their shows look more compelling than Star Wars is a big issue that Andreas and I have had. Is like Boba Fett. Obviously, he's not Luke Skywalker, he's not Anakin Skywalker, he's not like any of these A tier characters. It's still Boba Fett, and I've watched the trailer for Moon Knight, and I was like, this is like a D tier character, and this show looks so much more
D
compelling.
tier. I
than
think D
anything.
tier. I think D tier is like being nice too, right?
That might
Like,
be nice. Like,
Well-
Moon Knight is definitely like a very obscure thing, and like
you have to
some
know
of
the
these
comics to know Moon Knight.
like some of these
definitely.
characters are incredibly obscure, and what they're doing is the equivalent of giving Black Chrysanthemum his own show and then making him shine.
Right.
Whereas I think we're struggling over like trying to give some of the A and B tier characters some light, and even when they do get light, it's like it's a struggle. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
yeah.
I mean, you bring up a good point. I mean, I would be surprised if there's many people watching this who knew Moon Knight as much as I have. I have been buying, and I have like a subscription to these Moon Knight comics for 4 years, and I've been getting
Wow.
them in the mail
Oh,
for
wow.
4 years. I have like
Jesus.
2 runs of them. I love the character so much.
He's hilarious.
It's a really great character. I understand it's definitely a D tier. Like I didn't even realize that he was not as well known as he was until the trailer came out. There's nobody who knew who he was.
Yeah,
I was-
I had no idea.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I am
you're definitely-
very familiar.
You are definitely like in a like
yeah.
I don't know how large the camp of like Moon Knight like 4-year subscription like individuals are,
Yeah.
but I think you're gonna be like over the moon, no pun
Oh, yeah.
intended.
No,
with this
yes,
show.
it was.
yeah.
And then you bring up the whole like Egyptian god thing, and people are like, "What?" Like,
Oh
yeah,
no, the
there's a
Egyptian
whole,
god thing is probably like it's the motivating factor for the whole thing. I think
Mhm.
like it's what really it makes him interesting. If he didn't have the Egyptian thing and the personality disorder, it would just be Batman. And I'm not saying he's Marvel's Batman. It would be very similar into the sense where you feel like you could be watching Batman. He's
Yeah.
not Marvel's Batman before you all yell at me. I know people get mad at that. But
Moon Knight,
it's
Dark
sim-
Knight.
it gets the lines can get blurry, but the thing with Moon Knight is he doesn't pull his punches at all, and he's got a very different psychological thing going on than Batman. So it's just a very interesting character to me. So I'm very excited for everyone to see it.
So we've got a definite yes from Asteroidmech, like to wrap it back for Super Bowl halftime trailer. Knox, are you thinking halftime trailer or no halftime trailer? What's your sense?
Is this for Moon Knight or Kenobi?
No, for
Kenobi.
Kenobi, I'm bringing it back. I know we had a tangent.
Right.
Do you think it's going to be there or not so much?
Well, I'll be honest, right? I've never seen the Super Bowl in my life. Okay?
I don't blame you.
I don't really know what it is. Is it I'm not even gonna guess because I'll embarrass myself, okay?
Okay, so the Super Bowl is our football, like American football.
Right. I
It
thought it
is
was
the championship game for that.
See, I thought it
It
was
is like-
cricket.
So no. So you know, like
Or
think
like,
of,
not like rounders, like
baseball.
baseball. That's it. Not
no, the
cricket.
baseball is the World Series. So the Super Bowl is treated in America like the Champions League is treated in Europe. Is I
Right.
think the best way I can
Yeah.
put it.
Yeah.
Do you remember when you were like it was Italy and whatever, and we were all clouding on you for saying if we're Italy winning, whatever?
Yeah, the
What it
Euros.
was?
Yeah.
Yes, that it's basically that, but like
Except it's honestly a lot smaller scale. Like Americans
Much smaller. Much
Americans overhype the Super Bowl because admittedly, there's a ton of money in it. But it's the equivalent of like your domestic cup tournament.
But
that you
yeah,
have.
I absolutely want like I will be so gassed if we get the Kenobi trailer. I'm really looking forward to it. So absolutely, I want it halftime for sure. Which
The big
whatever that
reason-
means, whatever time that is. I just want the
It
trailer.
will be probably the middle of the night for you.
Yeah.
The big reason I think people are talking about this is just given like the timing of the poster, and then the fact that a big thing with the Super Bowl are the commercials and the trailers and the ads. Like that's always like the big thing when it comes to the Super Bowl every year. Is like honestly not really many people pay attention to the game outside of like if you care about the team.
It's kind of like the Game Awards show, right?
Yeah, no one really cares about unless you like your team is invested in it. Like everyone kind of just gets together for a Super Bowl party to like eat food and watch the commercials and trailers. That's pretty
Right.
much what everyone
Yeah,
does.
right.
And so they put so much money into Super Bowl commercials. It's a great time because everybody in America today is watching the Super Bowl, or at least like 90% of the households in America are watching
Wow.
the Super Bowl. So
Wow, okay.
like
Yeah.
the numbers that will be generated by today's ad revenue is crazy. So that's why I think a lot of people think it's going to happen. Plus the fact Marvel's going to be there with Disney Plus stuff. Personally, I'm just so sick of hyping myself up over this Obi-Wan trailer that I'm just like, nope, not happening. Like, we'll get it when we get it. Like,
Yeah.
I hope Asteroid's right. Like, please God, I hope he's right. But like,
Honestly, hearing Asteroid like talk the way that you just did, where you were like, it's absolutely 100% going to be there. Like that got me way too excited, and I need to like,
Yeah, I'm
I
trying
need
to
to, like-
trying to.
I gotta
stop
calm
myself as well.
down
Okay.
because like, yeah,
Think about it this way. Lego Star Wars is releasing like a little bit over a month away from Kenobi. And we don't
Mhm.
have a trailer for Kenobi.
Can we
We
talk
need a
about?
Kenobi.
crazy. It's
Can
horrible.
we
Yeah,
talk
horrible.
about how great of a time this is to be alive?
Oh my
That-
gosh.
That
Yeah.
we're getting Lego Star Wars: The Skywalker Saga, finally.
Finally, yeah.
Like, and finally is the understatement of the century. Like that word doesn't even cover it.
No.
And then
That's
we're
when we all go to
getting,
work.
and then we're getting an Obi-Wan show.
Nuts.
The Kenobi show just has blown it out the pond. But how about we wrap it up now? We've gone on for a while.
It's
Yes,
we've
yeah.
I
had
said
too
like
good of a
let's wrap it
time.
up like an hour ago.
Yeah, you
This
did.
is
You
an
did.
issue Andreas and I have. We tend to go on for a while, especially when Star Wars is
it
involved.
was good. Andreas, Nick, Lunar Squadron, thank you for coming on to the podcast. You guys speak incredibly well. It's been a joy to have you on today. And
Thanks for having us.
everybody,
We'd love to have you back.
everybody's watching or listening, for sure, they're going to be linked top of the description. Go subscribe, check them out, check out their Lego Star Wars breakdowns. And yeah, we would definitely love to have you back.
Anytime, guys. Just let us
Yeah,
know.
this
Hit us
is-
up.
this
We'll
is
make
like-
something work.
So much fun just to be on,
Yeah.
talk Star Wars. Like it's the best, honestly.
Yeah, hopefully we can get the whole gang back together for the next one. But
Yeah, it's going to be interesting, isn't it? 6 people in
Maybe
one
Andreas
podcast.
and maybe I can go over to Andreas's, or he can come over here, and we can.
Right.
well, then it would
We
be
could-
an odd number of screens.
We could like hold
Yeah,
up
that's true.
signs when we want to talk. You know?
yeah. But just raise our hands. We have a referee or something. Just to-
we would
just to work
definitely
through it.
need like a moderator, like somebody like kind of doing air traffic control with it.
Well, let's get Outcast to do that, Knox.
No, not a chance. We used to have this thing called the Popcorn Podcast, which is
I was
our
actually
first
telling him about
attempt.
this.
All right, so
Yeah.
this is that was our first attempt at the podcast, and we had Asteroid's friend on Outcast.
That was a pleasure
That was
for some of
horrific.
us.
That was a nightmare. But yeah, let's wrap it up. So thanks for
Yep.
watching, guys, and see you soon.
Yep.